You're watching Taste the Victory.
Today we're back with the second starter deck releasing alongside boosters at 10, RagnaLoardmon. RagnaLoardmon is a bit of an oddity in terms of playstyle compared to a typical deck. It's not much of a traditional climb. If you played Gacha Green in previous formats, it's more like that, where you're trying to high roll off of the top reveals of your deck to get a free Digimon body played on board, which then may play itself underneath one of your Digimon sources to activate additional effects. Gacha Green being named after Gacha mobile games, which have a loot box system of giving you random rewards. A lot of the good cards in this starter deck come at 2, so it is recommended to pick up 2 right out the gate so you have everything you need. The Jessamon starter deck you could justify getting 1 since you only needed a couple extra copies of some of the cards, but this one it's probably easier to just get both. And if you're interested in the Jessamon starter deck upgrade, you can click in the top right now, and if you're interested in picking up singles to get ready for RagnaLoardmon, you can use my TCG player affiliate link in the description below to support the channel. Thank you. So let's take a look at the main boss monster that this strategy is trying to update, RagnaLoardmon. We have a new one printed in the starter deck, which has the DNA Digivolution mechanic. You could Digivolve over a level 6 for a full 6 cost, it is 15,000 DP, and you can also DNA Digivolve now for free from a red level 6 plus a black level 6. It has the when Digivolving ability Blitz, and then also when DNA Digivolving. For every 4 Digivolution cards this Digimon has, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 20 or less, and trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. All turns, once per turn, when a card is removed from either player's stack, unsuspend its Digimon. So it has shifted to a more of a DNA Digivolution style deck now, which requires you to have 2 stacks out on the field. So typically with DNA Digivolution, you'll be hard slamming your Digimon directly onto the field a lot of times to make the DNA Digivolution live. So then we look at some of the lower level cards in the deck and we start to see an idea of the gimmick. Here we have TiaLudomon. It is on play by placing this Digimon at the bottom of one of your other Digimon with Legend Arms in its traits, or one of your other red Digimon's Digivolution sources when if your Digimon gets reboot. So basically you're going to be hard slamming stuff, and that'll give you additional effects to put underneath a Digimon that you are building towards the DNA Digivolution stack. It's a pretty interesting way to go about making this a little bit less painful to pass over so much memory to DNA Digivolve. So let's go ahead and start looking throughout the decks to see what we will take out or what we will add to improve this strategy. First up is the egg. The starter deck comes with 4 of the new Sakuttomon, which is really good. It is your turn inheritable. Once per turn, when you play another Digimon with Legend Arm and its traits by effect, gain 1 memory. So all your stuff that you're hard slamming is effectively reduced by 1. This is a lot easier condition to meet than the old Legend Arm eggs. So we'll be leaving Sakuttomon at 4 because it's actually very good for the playstyle. We then move on to our rookies. If we turn on stats, you see that the starter deck comes with 16 total of them, which is overkill for a lot of decks that aren't Rookie Rush. You'll be pleased to hear though that we will keep a lot of the rookies that are included in the starter deck in the final list. We're basically just going to get rid of this Kotemon, which is a 2-cost vanilla, which has its niche, but we're not going to need it here. So we're just going to get rid of it entirely, and then we're going to cut Chikurimon down to 3. It is a very good rookie for this format where Crossheart is expected to be very good because it stops your opponent from reducing their play cost, which counters the entire cross mechanic. So it's not just about Crossheart, it also stops Blue Flare in its tracks, so it's nice to keep 3 copies of it. And to replace it, I personally like running 1 of the old Ludomon. It is another searcher. On play, reveal top 5 cards of your deck, add 1 RagnaLoardmon Digimon card and 1 Digimon card with Legend Arms in its type among them to your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is a searcher that could potentially grab you 2 cards off the top 5, which is a very generous search, so I really like it. If you are worried about having more Legend Arm types in your list for consistency, you could even consider running Chikurimon down to 2 and upping this for the extra consistency, but personally I like this ratio right now since we hit a good balance and reached 12 rookies. After that we have Ludomon. This one is a new one introduced in the starter deck. 3 to play, can Digivolve from either red or black, 1000 DP. On play, you may place this Digimon card under one of your other Digimon with Legend Arm in its traits, or one of your red Digimon as its bottom Digivolution card to reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a Digimon card with Legend Arm in its traits and a play cost of 7 or less, you may play it without paying its memory cost. Add the remaining cards to your hand. So pay attention to that bottom line. You are not discarding anything, so even if you don't get to play something off of this effect of Ludomon, you at least get to add 1 card to your hand. You basically drew 1 for 3, so at the very least you don't get to miss this effect, which is a nice consolation prize. It has the inheritable effect, opponent's turn, if you have a Digimon with Legend Arm in its traits, or a red Digimon in play, this Digimon gains blocker. So that's really awesome to be able to cheat out a level 5 and suddenly give it blocker if you're able to put this underneath it. Then we go on to Zubamon, which is basically more consistency because it's more of the same but in red. Digivolves either from red level 2 or black level 2, 1000 DP. On play, basically the exact same thing as the Ludomon we just saw. And then inheritable, when attacking, if you have a Digimon with Legend Arms in its traits or a black Digimon in play, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 3000 DP or less. So that inheritable is really nice to delete rookie floodgates like Gazimon, like Madoki Betamon, and anything that might stop Digivolution cost reduction. There's only one card in your deck that is even worried about that, and the Digivolution Cost Reducer Memory Floodgate isn't even that commonly ran anymore, but it's nice to have nonetheless for future metas. So we're keeping both of those at 4 because they are Legend Arm in traits, so it's important to the playstyle of the deck to have enough targets, and they're just really good rookies as well. After that, we have Gladiamon, which is just a one-costed Digivolve champion, which is efficient and can let you climb up quickly, but we need more stuff with Legend Arms and its traits to make sure we hit our effects. We're going to reduce it entirely, and then we're going to keep the TiaLudomon that comes in the deck at 4. I read its effect earlier, but its inheritable effect gives you blocker, which is basically the exact same thing the Ludomon does, so it's pretty cool for consistency and to be able to get it if you don't have the Ludomon. And then we have ZubaEagermon. On play, you may place one Digimon under one of your other Digimon with Legend Arm in its traits, or one of your black Digimon as his bottom Digivolution card to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 5000 DP or less. So at the very least, that could potentially get rid of a blocker that is preventing lethal, so that's a pretty cool situation there. And then when attacking an inheritable, if you have a Digimon with Legend Arm in its traits, or a black Digimon in play, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 3000 DP or less, basically the exact same thing that we just saw. So they're both very good for what they do. They're both Legend Arms in its traits, so we want to keep it at max capacity. And to round up the champion lineup, we're going to add 2 of the old TiaLudomon from 1.5. It only has an inheritable effect to the Digivolve. When attacking, if this Digimon is level 7, trigger D-Digivolve on one of your opponent's Digimon. So that is nice to have as a control option once you have gotten to RagnaLoardmon. It certainly does not hurt, and it's probably one of the better options that we have to up our champion lineup so that we have enough. Because if we only run these 2 guys, we have 8. Champion lineup is something you really don't want to mess with in terms of level curve, so you want to definitely add the 2 in there to at least get 10 for a little bit more consistency. That'll take care of the champion lineup, and then we move on to our ultimates. First up, we see here, we have the RaijiLudomon. It is 3 Digivolve from a level 4 that is red or black, 7000 DP, and in opponent's turn, the Digimon can't be deleted by your opponent's card effects. So if you cheat this out early by one of those on-play effects, this is awesome, because then your opponent can't get rid of it with options, so they're kind of behind and you gain a lot of momentum off of this sticking to the board. It has the inheritable effect, end of your turn, you may DNA Digivolve this Digimon and one of your other Digimon in play into a Digimon card in your hand by paying its Digivolution cost. So that is awesome because this lets you DNA Digivolve even if you have passed memory over to your opponent's turn. Imperial Dramon players will be very familiar with this effect since it's one of the main strategies of that deck. It's kind of similar here, and we'll see how this becomes really important later on with some of the megas we are running. Then we have a vanilla, which is go ahead and get rid of Nightmon. We don't need it. We have the Duramon that comes in the starter deck. This is a level 5. It digivolves from a level 4 red or black for 3, 7000 DP. Your turn, when this Digimon would digivolve into a Digimon with Legend Arms or a black Digimon, reduce the memory cost of the Digivolution by 1. So that is really important since our levels are kind of expensive to balance out their effects. And then inheritable, end of your turn, same thing as the previous Ludomon. So that is awesome to make sure we always see that inheritable because we're going to need it. And being able to reduce the expensive Digivolution cost is really clutch. Duramon is awesome and probably what you're going to want to be prioritizing most of the time if you have to manually Digivolve. It only comes at 2 in the starter deck, however, so we're going to have to up that to 4. And that is going to be our ultimate lineup. Then we move on to the megas that come in the starter deck. You see here that we have 2 of the Durandamon. This is 3 Digiball from red or black level 5, 11,000 DP, and he is really strong and probably what you are going to prioritize when climbing up in this deck. Your turn, once per turn, when one of your effects places a Digivolution card under this Digimon gets plus 3000 DP and gains security attack plus 1. When attacking, reveal the top 3 cards from the top of your deck. You may play one Digimon card with play cost 7 or less and Legend Arms and its traits from among them without paying its memory cost. Place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. Your turn inheritable, this is a level 6 with an inheritable for RagnaLoardmon. While this Digimon is RagnaLoardmon, it doesn't activate security effects on option cards, it checks. So that is so good and so important to this deck to make sure you don't just get blown out by security. You're a level 7, so you're usually pretty big and not worrying about security, so then to be able to turn off options is a miracle that this deck needs. Being able to naturally check 2 cards is huge for the deck's playstyle, and then its when attacking effect, being able to fill up its sources itself potentially, is really important for RagnaLoardmon's effect that we saw earlier. This comes at only 2 in the starter deck, and it's the one you really want to prioritize, so we're going to up that to 4. If you want to run more rookies for consistency, you can absolutely justify this at only 3, but we're going to max it out for now. Then we have BryweLudramon. This is also 4 Digivolve from a level 5. This one is 12,000 DP and 4 Digivolve from a level 5 red or black. It has the effect your turn, once per turn, when a card is placed into this Digimon Digivolution cards by your own effect, this Digimon cannot be deleted by effects or returned to its owner's hand or deck until the end of your opponent's next turn. So that's really good to make sure it sticks around, and then when Digivolving, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Basically the exact same effect as Durandamon. Then it has the inheritable opponent's turn, while its Digimon is RagnaLoardmon, it isn't affected by your opponent's Digimon effects. So that's a nice to have effect to not worry about your RagnaLoardmon getting blown up by some when Digivolving effect removal or something like that. It's nice to have. BryweLudramon is a neat card. It's cool that he has his own continuous protection that you could potentially activate every turn, and then giving protection to RagnaLoardmon. However, he is only like 1 check per turn and doesn't do too much else. He's not too crazy and doesn't contribute as aggressively to the win con of this deck. So we're actually going to cut this one down to 2. And in its place, you may have forgotten this card even existed, but we're going to put in 2 Baihumon. So this is 5 to Digivolve from a level 5, 13,000 DP. When Digivolving, unsuspend up to 2 Digimon and or Tamers. Then gain 1 memory for each of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon and Tamers. End of your turn, once per turn, for every 2 unsuspended Digimon and or Tamers your opponent has in play, trash 1 card from the top of your opponent's security stack. So here is where we get wild. This card is really funny with RagnaLoardmon's own effect, because if you remember from the beginning of this video, it trashes a card from your opponent's security stack for every 4 Digivolution cards. And it is a DNA Digivolution, and we have these effects that let you DNA Digivolve at the end of turn. So basically what you're doing here is you're going to hard slam this guy. Yes, he is 13, but you're going to hard slam this guy for 13. His effect is end of turn, so it will trigger. You will trash however many security cards based on your opponent's board. The Dura effect will trigger, then you'll go into RagnaLoardmon, trash potentially a couple more, you know, depending on how many sources, at least 1 more for sure, and then you'll be able to blitz, getting rid of so many security in 1 turn, if not winning you the game. You kind of want to hold that combo for when you do know you have lethal with it, because otherwise you're in a rough position if you pass over all that memory and don't finish the game, because that's a lot for your opponent to work with. But that's a really funny interaction that sometimes can literally win you the game, which is why we are running it and only at 2 and not, you know, 4 to make it the main win con. But this will come up surprisingly often. I think you could pretty reliably get 2 security trash off of Baihumon's effect, because Crossheart is going to be running around a lot and they play out a lot of Tamers. A 4 Tamer board is not uncommon for them at all. So depending on how you time it, you definitely could get up to 2, which could very easily get lethal when paired with the new RagnaLoardmon. So that is going to be our mega lineup, our total of 8 of them. So then we have RagnaLoardmon, who only comes at 2. You are going to want to up this to 3, because he has synergy with the rest of the deck, he has that funny Baihumon combo, and is basically our win con. But we will be adding in 1 more of the old Ragna. So old Ragna is still a really great card. Besides just having drop dead gorgeous art, it is 14,000 DP and can potentially come in for free. It is only 3 to Digivolve over level 6, but with its when Digivolving effect, you may place 1 Durandamon or 1 BryweLudramon from your hand on top of this card's Digivolution stack to gain 3 memory, essentially making it free. And then he naturally has security attack +1 and reboot. So not only to get to be aggressive at your opponent's security, you also get to reboot and potentially become a blocker with your inheritable effects. We have 6 targets of the megas to be able to potentially put it in hand, so there are good odds. It's not the end of the world if you don't get it, since it's only a 3 cost level 7, so it's pretty cheap, potentially free, and can let you aggro without needing to do some fancy combo. It's a really good fallback option. However, we do want to play into the main win con of DNA Digivolving with this deck, so we're running 3 of this as opposed to 1 of the old one. Then we move on to our options. We have this little guy here that's included in the deck as removal. It is 7 cost, and then you get to ignore the color requirements with a Legends arm on the field. Main, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the highest DP, and then security activate this card's main effect. So for 7 cost, this is not bad at all. It's actually pretty good removal. But Ragna is kind of a different path to an OTK style deck. So we're kind of just going to get rid of this and go all in on the OTK nature of it. So we're going to drop this down to 0. The Legends Arm Alliance option that is in the deck was going to go ahead and stay in the deck. However, we're going to cut this down to 3 because it is an interesting option. It's 4 to play. You may play 1 Digimon with a play cost of 7 or less and Legends Arm in its trades from your hand without paying its memory cost, then place this cards in its owner battle area. Then delay, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, place those cards on the top or bottom of your deck in any order, which synergizes well with your rookies at the very least. And then keep in mind, Sakuttomon gains you 1 memory when you play something with Legend Arm in its traits by effect. So this option will technically be 3 cost pretty often, so it's pretty good synergy there. And this does play your level 5s out, so be able to get a level 5 so early, especially the one that can be protected by effect, so you don't have to worry about your opponent blowing it up right away next turn with some option. It's really good momentum. So definitely consider running this to 4 if you can find space for it, but I'm thinking 3 because of the higher cost. And now we get to the spice of this deck. Yeah, you're seeing this right. It's kind of the same logic between Mother, X Antibody. It is 0 to play, puts itself underneath one of your Digimon. In security, it can gain you 1 memory, then add itself to hand. And then its inheritable effect is, well, we don't really care. You can go ahead and read what it is on screen, but we don't really need it because there is no X Antibody Digimon. This is simply here to fill up RagnaLoardmon's effect. Because if you notice, for every 4 Digivolution cards in this Digimon's sources, you get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 20 or less, and then trash your opponent's security. And that second half of the effect we really care about, trash your opponent's security. Because let's look at a traditional climb. A traditional climb is going to get you an egg, a rookie, a champion, a level 5, and a level 6. That is 5 sources. If you would go into your red mega specifically, because that's the one we want to prioritize, you do your attacking effect, and you hope to hit the one attacking effect to put another one underneath it. That is 6 sources. If you then slam Baihumon, you will DNA Digivolve. That is now 7 sources. So that is at the very least 1 card trash from security with RagnaLoardmon's effect. However, if you at any point in that combo see the X Antibody option, you can put it underneath the Digimon for free. So not only do you now have 8 sources, which gives you 2 trashed off of RagnaLoardmon's effect with X Antibody in its source, you also now have a guaranteed way to get a card added to BryweLudramon sources if you need to keep it on the field for whatever reason with its protection effect for another turn. Normally you would have to spend like 3 minimum at the lowest to play like a rookie and get that effect off, but now you can play X Antibody and add to its sources, triggering its effect for free. So there's multiple uses to X Antibody. This is actually a really cool, fantastic tech option in this deck. However, this is not D-Reaper. This is not D-Reaper. We do not have the ability to stall out like that deck does to dig for this card that has no search in it. And then also that deck has a searcher, which lets you draw 1 for basically 1 cost, making it more likely to see this option. We don't really have anything like that. So in the wrong situation, this card can potentially be a brick, which is why we're only running it at 2 compared to 3, because this deck already does struggle with consistency, but it's just such a funny interaction that could potentially get you the game that we're running 2 copies of it. Then we have Hiro Amanokawa. He is 4 to play, memory tamer, so he guarantees you 3 memory, and then your turn, when you attack with a Digimon that has Gamamon in its name or level 5 or higher, you may suspend this tamer to have one of your Digimon get plus 2000 TP for the turn. He's basically just here because he is a cheap memory tamer and we want to be able to guarantee 3 plays, because we're going to be hard slamming a lot of stuff in this deck, so being able to guarantee 3 memory at the start of our turn guarantees us another action for the turn, since a lot of our memory will be taken up with hard play effects. Another option for your tamer is Booster Set 4 Izzy. It also guarantees you 3 memory, but it lets you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, and if they're all black, gain 1 memory, potentially making a 3 cost, but more importantly, it lets you stack the order of the top 3 cards of your deck, which helps if your follow-up play is one of the rookies that only searches the top card of your deck to make sure it's what you want to hit. So in that case, I would maybe cut down Hiro to 1 to make it a 1-2 split, or just up it to 3 entirely and cut Hiro, depending on what you have access to, what your preference is, etc. And that is going to be the list for RagnaLoardmon in Booster Set 10, upgrading your starter deck. This is really cool because this is one of the closest to being completely usable right out of the box, because you're seeing, like, as far as old cards, we're really just adding in X Antibody, Hiro, Baihumon, and the old Ludomon and the old TiaLudomon, and those are all really cheap. The X Antibody, which is probably the most expensive at $2 out of the old card editions, is completely optional too. Like, this is just a funny tech option that I've been having success testing. You can totally cut it if you don't want to run it, or if you don't have it and you just want to up consistency. This is definitely a deck that has a learning curve. You have to get used to the weird hard slams and potentially playing around not seeing what you need off of your reveals. But it is incredibly fun. I did not expect to be playing this in Booster Set 10. I wrote the deck off until I started experimenting for this video, and now I actually want to get this deck. I want to go out and build it IRL because it's a really cute pet deck. I like it a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know how you are checking out your RagnaLoardmon decks and what you would like to see in the next video. Until that next video, remember to stay hungry until you get a taste of victory.